Freak, a very solid start there for SK, and I love the fact that they came out of the gates, threw a curveball with a very interesting champion select, picking up that Fizz early, but then ending up in the jungle.
Yeah, I love the Fizz jungle, and to be honest, we were discussing it a little earlier. I see it as sort of like a higher damage Elise, because Elise, late game, we all know, she's basically just a cocoon, while Fizz happens to have this massive AoE and a lot more damage that what Elise can bring, especially AoE, and he also has an invulnerability. Now, obviously a curveball picked early. We've seen multiple times Europe likes to pick Fizz early, so perhaps at least we thought that it was going to be a mid-Fizz pick. And it was AD high, like some sort of hybrid with the rune setup with W max Fizz that was able to just mow down Ryze and Zed with Mundo in the backlines, which was, it was really entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it was very interesting, especially then to see it built in kind of an AD fashion. Dominate. In solo queue, have you, like in NA, have you run into anything like this? The jungle Fizz built that way? Like
I've seen a jungle Fizz before, and like as soon as we saw jungle Fizz, Crumbzz and I were discussing to each other. It's like, all right, so after he gets his Spectral Wraith, do you think he's gonna go for Lich Bane or is he gonna go Frozen Fist? Like, what's his build path? And then he just like surprised us. He maxed W. He went Elder Lizard into Triforce. I've never seen anything like that before. It's really interesting, and that's like the first thing I want to try when I get back into solo queue.
Yeah, definitely gonna have to pull that one out at some point. Well, let's now move into the game though, because SK actually played it very well. As Irene had said, they split up their damage threats pretty well. They had Tristana, they had Ori, and then they did have this damage threat from the jungle. So there wasn't necessarily one target that Gambit could pick out, and they chose to lane swap in order to allow that Fizz a bit of a double jungle to get through early without taking too much damage and things like that. So what do you guys feel about the level ones? They had that nice invade, but they did get seen by a ward.
I think the SK went for a regular lane swap, but they did one crucial mistake, which was they did not protect the dragon, or at least you can go ahead, if you're lane swap, but you can afford a ward. Just place a ward and make sure you don't lose that early dragon, because if you give up that early dragon, and let's say Gambit would have played it a little bit better, and they would have snowballed, if the Zed gets ahead, there's no way. That team comp would not have been able to survive against a split pushing Zed that's far ahead. So they need to really make sure that they're not bleeding out the first dragon early. It's not a big deal, but you don't want to give any leads to a team comp that requires split pushing. But besides that, it was once Mundo got ahead, there's no coming back from them.
Yeah, they had that late game. Even with the Ryze on the other side, you got Mundo, Triss soaking up all that damage. It's going to be hard to come back from that. I do want to jump into the game. We're going to go 18 minutes and 30 seconds in around the dragon. This one goes in favor of SK. Dominate, I'm going to let you walk us through it. As soon as we pull it up on the boards here it is. If you don't mind, like this is, I feel like, the first time that we really saw SK kind of pull ahead, because they had traded a few fights prior to this.
Okay. So if we can roll the clip. So they start off on Dragon. They're kind of just tanking it. They're daring Gambit to come in. And from here, what I like is they all commit to a side. They see Lucian on one side, and they all run left, and they just try to Zerg that side. And I think that's really smart play when you get attacked from two sides. Something that I actually wish we did a little bit more of on my team. So really smart call, and they're able to just clean it up by just being decisive and choosing a side to go on.
So this, yeah, like you said, it points to decisive, clear calls from a challenger team, which is, you know, something that we generally are criticizing challenger teams for, right? Like, they're all great individually skilled players, but generally they lack in the areas of shot calling and team play where LCS teams excel. But SK, I mean, they're looking pretty sharp here. Is this an LCS team in the works right here?
We have to see more games, to be honest. Seeing just that game, again, you played a death ball comp. They had a perfect death ball comp with the Fizz being able to be more of a diver and high damage threat instead of what we normally see being like an Elise or a Nunu that just basically only protects. So I really like that, but we need to see what they can deal. You need to be able to win in the best of 5 if you're a LCS caliber team, of course. But again, that game, I think if Gambit would have gotten the early lead, they could have snowballed really far out of control. But NIQ did not seem that comfortable on Zed. Like, he just was. It didn't look like it was his really comfort pick, to be honest. At least not for now.
Crumbzz, you spoke to the death ball aspect of the team, so we are going to pull up the second replay, which is only about 4 minutes later into the game, top lane. This is where we kind of see the Tristana get to that point of, like, there's no return. So I'll let you take this one away.
All right, so this is after they took the tier 2 mid. They saw a big wave top and went for it. Now, they just needed to back off here, and Fizz just goes in, commits suicide, and he basically done this himself. Now, he gets Zed ulted, which is a mistake by by Zed going for that because the Fizz is already dead. He used his E to get in. There's no getting out. And SK overcommits, but they're so far ahead that at this point it doesn't even matter. They managed to kill a couple, and now Gambit overcommits just like they did earlier. And once the Ori QW hits Lucian, they needed to just run away, but they keep chasing, and you're chasing into a team comp that wants you to chase them. Ori and Triss don't want to run into anybody. They want everybody to come to them. That's why they're really high damage threats that are not very, well, they're kind of mobile, but they just don't want to be the ones jumping into the fight. You want to create a situation where people jump you, and that's exactly what Gambit gave them, and they ended up getting ace for it.
At this point, Tristana's 8-1. We kind of see the game play out the way we expect it to. So Dominate, best of 5 series. One team pulls out. We'll say a little bit of cheese here in the first game. What's Gambit saying now? Because how much do they have to respect that cheese and worry about the Fizz again, or how much are they actually pulling from that game, saying, "Hey, look, if we can get them into a standard comp, we've got them beat."
I personally think that in that situation, I think you should ban out the Fizz. If it's something that's that out of left field and you don't really have an answer, I'd say just go ahead and ban it out. Unless you're super confident and you think you have like a legitimate counter, just go for a more standard game. I don't think there's another reason to give this guy an AD Fizz where he just pretty much like he was just really annoying in the game. It seemed like they didn't have an answer at any point, so I think that they should just ban it out. Go into the next game with just more standard junglers, maybe like put him on a Nunu, a Kha'Zix, a Rengar, just something that you're more familiar with.
Right, yeah, they got rid of the Lee Sin, Nami, and Nid in their ban, so that does mean, though, that they're going to have to sacrifice one of those in order to get rid of the Fizz. So I would have to say that that's a pretty well played first game there for SK in terms of mind games. And Crumbzz, to that same effect, when you're in the best of 5s, how important are the mind games there?
Oh, it's huge, because you basically, after playing a little bit of the game, you kind of get a feel for what the other team prioritizes, because you kind of want to show the same strategy over and over and over in the best of 5 and just wait till the other guy counters and be like, okay, we played this comp the first game, we're going to play it the second game, let's see if you can beat it again. And if they can't, then you just basically play the same thing 3 games in a row and you win. So I'm guessing SKP will try to do the same thing. They'll play a similar comp. Now, maybe Fizz gets banned. As Dominate pointed, he was really annoying. Like, I don't think he was like a huge reason why they won, but he just was in the faces of Gambit the entire time, and they did not seem like they knew how to do it. Like, for instance, that example where Zed ulted the Fizz that E'd into him, that was if Zed had saved his ultimate, overcommitting to chase a Triss and Ori would have been perfect. They probably would have won that fight really decisively. But they just did not look comfortable playing against that champion. So we could see that ban and put him on something more standard. But if they see Lee Sin as something that they should get rid of for SK Prime, then perhaps not. But I think they should have just gone for something for like a Lee Sin for Diamond. After all, it's one of his best champions, and Lee Sin can deal with any cheese jungler.
Yeah, a jungle Fizz pick is definitely one of those picks that requires a lot of your brain power when you're playing against it, because being unaware of its full potential requires you to give it more thought, which makes it harder to deal with in team fights, because you're like, I'm not sure what his damage output potential is, so I'm going to ult him just to get him off the playing field here. But if we go into the next game, right? Yesterday we saw a challenger team start out 2-0 and then not be able to come back. So when we talk about the difference between an LCS team and a challenger team, Gambit being one of those teams that has been around for a very long time, we have Edward and Diamond still on that team. How much is their mental fortitude, their stamina, their ability to play 5 games in a row and adapt gonna factor into being able to pull out a win? Dominate?
I definitely think that they'll be pretty calm with it. They've played best of 5s before. Like they were in the finals of LCS even a couple splits ago. So I think they'll be fine. I think they just need to get away from the cheese. They showed that Fizz was a super high priority. They first rotation the Fizz. Like after you see that, you know that they're probably prepared to play jungle and mid, since they played a jungle that game. I think that you should just go with a more standard game and just see if they can beat you straight up.
All right, so we'll look to see if Gambit does make some of those changes. Look for a more standard game, as they clearly had a game plan going into that first game. We are going to take a quick break, though, while the teams reset for our second match between SK Prime and Gambit. The Spring Promotion Tournament resumes in just 3.5.
There's a death mark there as well. More fight coming in there. This could be risky for Nick. He predicts the jump back with the shockwave. First blood comes into Red Club. Kickus. Fizz going in hard. Has to walk away from Kuban. Can they win the fight anyway? Edward will go down. 1-for-1 so far. Nick on the retreat. Watch the Fox pops. The zone is to stay alive. And this is Z's just killing everybody. They are trying, and in comes Edward hooked in. Shark comes out as well. They try to kite back that Baron help, and they do. Kickus gets his third kill. Spitting down the front. Oh, Kickus will go down, but they trade one back, and in goes the kill onto Prison all the same. They pick up Nick as well. 3 kills. That's going to be 4 with Kuban. Only Kickus now chasing onto Edward. Double kill for the jungle. Fizz